Here with Grand Tactician Civil War, our CSA campaign. Where we left off in the last episode was two Union forces had besieged Fort Beckham in the vicinity of Winchester, Virginia. And rather than go through, and they had the advantage, they were going to win that siege. Rather than allow that, I decided to convert that into a field battle using the assault option. And we took a look at the map and saw that we had ownership of the objective, and it's a defending situation, so that looks good for us. And here we are to fight that battle. It does turn out that whenever you see you hover over an enemy army, and it tells you how many troops are there, that's an intelligence estimate. Sometimes they're usually off. It's always a round number, right? It's never exact. And it's usually, ends in a zero, usually 2 zeros. And, but they're usually somewhat close. In this case, they were not. It turns out there are significantly more Union troops here than the campaign intelligence indicated. I thought there would be 28 to 30,000 federal troops on this battlefield. Now, our intelligence is telling us there are 44,000 federal troops here, because it looks like the Army of Occupation was about 10,000 more than what it indicated on the campaign map. Either that or I simply misread the number. That could be too. In any case, there's a lot of Billy Yanks on this battlefield. It is not quite, but almost. No, it is over 2-to-1 odds. 44,000 to 21,000. So it is possible I have bitten off more than I really should chew here. The AI is the AI. Fighting outnumbered really isn't, with the proper strategy. And I say the proper, there's more than one. As long as you're careful, have a good plan, and, usually do okay. Over 2-to-1 odds, though, we could get in a little bit of trouble. Kind of like I did in the last battle, where there was a flank attack, actually more of a rear attack that I didn't see coming, and even though Price won that battle and actually got a major victory, it was a little dicey at one point and took a fair amount of casualties. So the goal here is to do what we can, try to take as few casualties as possible, and come out of this with a win. A minor victory here would be fine. The goal was not to just let them win the siege of Fort Beckham and to force those two armies to retreat out of Virginia. Okay, a minor victory accomplishes that. So, okay. So in any case, let's take a look at the situation. I had remarked at the end of the last episode that where you see these flat spots indicates the proximity of federal troops. We're still in the deployment phase now. It turns out in this case, it actually appears that these flat spots occur right where the deployment zones butt up against each other. That's what causes these, apparently, and it also answers the question of what the AI does on spawning in. Do they stay at their entry points, or do they go to the edge of their deployment zone? Well, I think that question has been conclusively answered. All I was doing was just positioning the Cav to a spot where he could go out and scout, and boom, he pretty much, Hawes's brigade pretty much caught sight of the entire federal force right along in here. So I had initially wondered if they were going to come this way or come this other route further west? And the answer to that question is both. Or at least in a position to do both. And I don't know how many units are stacked up in this glom here, but it's a lot. So, all right. So I had to cover both routes. Here's the objective right here on the top of this ridge. So we've got terrain advantages. We've got a decent defensive position. It has its weaknesses. But so what I have got laid out here was Jackson was the biggest division, is the biggest division, and two out of these three brigades have the longer range Mississippi rifles. I went ahead and put him in the middle. So Jackson's got the center. Had enough engineering points where I could put parapets along in here. I actually had 1.3 left over. Did not upgrade them. We've talked about that in a previous episode. In the current state of the game, when you see how this little icon pops up, if I right click right now, I can improve, quote, improve this parapet, and there will be another little line of obstructions out in front of it. And then I can improve it again, and it will put a further line of abattis, which are like stakes, an obstruction to movement out here further in front, about its skirmisher position range. For some reason in this game, when you do that, improve a parapet, something occurs with it that makes it very difficult to get a brigade to actually get a cover bonus. They won't quite sit in there correctly, and they may as well be standing in an open field. So hopefully that gets corrected at some point in an update, but for the time being, don't improve parapets. Your guys won't get cover from them. If I were to improve this right now and start the battle with an improved parapet, these brigades would initially still have their cover bonus. But as soon as they rotate to fire at somebody or move a little bit, and then you try to get them back into the trench, they'll lose their cover bonus, and then when you try to realign them and get them back into the parapet, they just won't go. So don't improve parapets is the short version of that. You will regret it. And also, I have gone through, well, I did it with Jackson's division. I'm going to do it with all the other ones right now before we start time. I am going to turn off initiative for all of the brigade commanders and their parent division commanders, because I do not want any of these troops leaving these parapets. And if they need to rotate for their field of fire, what have you, I would prefer to micro that here. It is imperative to try to take as few casualties as possible. And just trust to the infantry firepower to inflict enough casualties that McClellan and whoever this is, who is commanding this other force. Okay, so McClellan is commanding the Army of Occupation. That's the larger force. And Scott is commanding the West Virginia Militia. Is that Winfield Scott? Okay. Yeah, he's got some experience. That's probably Winfield Scott. Of course, historically, Winfield Scott did not take a field command because he was ancient. He was in his 70s. But he's available on the Union side. I've used him before as a corps commander. And he's actually pretty good. So that may be Winfield Scott across the field from us. And I don't know which is which is which. I suspect that this force over here on the federal left, this is probably the militia. And this looks, it's hard to tell, but this is probably the bigger force. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, this is probably McClellan's force over here. So this is McClellan, probably, and this is Winfield Scott. Or probably Winfield Scott, some Scott. So the strength of the position is, I would expect that McClellan's going to come down this road. And we've got some high ground here. For the time being, it looks like this artillery has got a pretty good field of fire. Hopefully, once the game starts rolling, these brigades don't block their line of sight. I don't know. So I put 2 of the artillery battalions facing this way, and then I just couldn't find any field of fire worth a damn up on this hill. So I've got this other battalion kind of exposed a little bit over here on the flank. But this was the only place I could find any kind of decent firing arc for them. As the battle develops, Pelham may need to relocate, retreat a little bit. And this isn't where I'm leaving the cav. I just left the cav here for vision to show where the Federals started. Before we get time rolling, I'm going to pull this cav back. I did not realize how small. He's got good weapons, but I did not realize how small this cavalry unit is. So I need to do the same thing with this cavalry unit that I did with the Missouri Cav. And right now he's not really combat effective. He's just a scouting force. He's too small to do anything in combat. But I'm going to, now that we know where the Federals are, I'm just going to pull Hawes back. And he's just going to kind of be a little flank guard and make the artillery feel a little bit better about being exposed out here. Oh, even back here, we can still see all these guys. No, now the vision's updating. Yeah, okay. Well, we know where they are. But I placed the parapets where they were in such a way that not only are the brigades in good cover, but I placed them in a way that we've got a creek here in front of this position that these guys, skirmishers, can take cover in. And then there's a fence line along here where Jackson's skirmishers can take cover. I initially was going to put Jackson's brigade along here, but I decided to use that as the skirmisher cover and put the trench line further back. And so we're nice and strong over here, and the far left flank is kind of anchored in some terrain, right? There's some elevation here and some woods and a creek, and if McClellan were to try to come across here, that would be problematic to overload this flank. His troops would be very slow in doing it, and they'd have fatigue and cohesion issues, and it would develop slowly enough that I think we could react. So I'm pretty happy with the left and the center. This position over here, where we have Edmund Kirby Smith's 2 Brigade Division, the position itself I think is fine, but this right flank is hanging out in the air, in open ground. So I'm a little apprehensive about that. I would expect that movement on this side will probably at least initially come down this road, and will either come right in this way, or they may try to overload the flank and have a very slow developing attack this way. I doubt that the center of gravity of the attack on this side is going to come up along this axis. So Bartow in Jackson's division may wind up relatively lightly engaged. So I think he is available to back out of this trench line and move to help the right flank. And then we've got the little cavalry brigade that can do what it can do. It does have good weapons. Maynard carbines are not the very best cav weapon, but they're decent. Let's see. Yeah, 300-yard range, 12 rounds a minute. So the Sharps carbines are pretty much the gold standard for cav weapons, and we as the Confederacy do not have access to those. I don't think. The arms agents give us the ability to produce Springfield rifle muskets, but I don't think it gives us the ability to produce Sharps weapons, which are very good for both infantry and cav. So Maynard is probably about as good as we can get, except for capturing. After a victory, you capture X number of weapons. If we defeat enough Sharps armed Union cavalry units, we could get a few that way. But we can't produce them and we can't buy them. So barring Sharps, Maynard's about as good as the Confederacy gets, and it's a good weapon. But he's only got not even 700 men. So this is a kind of a last resort, very short flanking maneuver capability here that we've got. All right, let's see how it works out. As soon as I get time rolling, I'm going to punch out the skirms and get them into the cover of the creek and the fence, and then we'll see how the Federals decide to proceed. And also, for some reason, it started us in the middle of the night. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. So that's a little weird. That doesn't happen often. All right, let's go. Let's get skirmishers out here. I particularly want Jackson's skirmishers out because Mississippi Rifle Armed skirmishers should be pretty effective, especially along that fence row. None of these units have any perks yet. Okay, let's make sure they take cover in here. I guess I could have put that trench line a little bit closer to the fence. And that skirmisher vision is, we've got the Federals in sight again. So we're way outnumbered over 2-1. However, for some reason, and simply being in Virginia territory doesn't really explain it, but we have a significant morale advantage over the Federals. Their morale is below 40 at the start. And I think we saw this before, but a lot of the Federal units, well, these guys seem all right. But earlier, when Hawes still had these guys in vision, a lot of these units up here were already kind of flashing red, wavering. I don't know why. As I said, simply the fact that we're in Confederate territory doesn't fully explain that. So they must have had some kind of condition or... in the HQ, the condition report doesn't really... Where is it? Yeah. Okay. So the West Virginia force, confident morale, but McClellan is only at stable for some reason. And there's even one brigade here, a couple brigades, which are actually down to unstable. So they took a hit for some reason. I mean, it's showing hundreds for all the conditions. So I don't know why they're such low morale, but I'm not arguing. That's good. Okay. All right. All of our skirmishers are in cover now. Okay. Let's speed up time a little bit. See how the Federals approach us. So hopefully, as the McClellan brigades come up into us and take some, hopefully they'll rout pretty quick and just. This may not be as hard as we feared. Okay, artillery is opening up. Okay, let's go. Like I discussed in the last episode, I do not have any divisional artillery in this army. Most of the armies, because I was replacing the horse artillery units. But the corps artillery, which is this artillery division under Leonidas Polk, these are all better guns. Not much better, but they're not 6-pounder field guns. I think there's 2 12-pounder field guns and 1 battery of Napoleons. Yeah, Pelham's got the 12-pounder field gun. Lee, Stephen Lee. This battalion is Napoleons. And this brigadier general in charge of a single battery, he's got 12-pounder field guns. And I didn't actually assign him. The game plugged him into that role. Okay, I just left it. I think that's a campaign start assignment. And his stats weren't very good, so I just left him there. Yeah, there's William Rosecrans in brigade command. I think that's probably Lew Wallace here. I don't think this is William Tecumseh Sherman. There's another Sherman, Thomas Sherman. I think that's probably who this brigade commander is. Sherman starts in McDowell's Army of Northeastern Virginia as a brigade commander. Of course, I mean, the AI can move guys around too. That could be William T. Sherman. Yeah, this fella's already wavering. Schleich. This cavalry brigade is wavering. How's Rosecrans doing? Rosecrans brigade is wavering. And it looks like they're doing what I thought they might do. Is they're trying to go over to our far left. Well, that's just going to trash the fatigue and cohesion of this brigade as they advance. So Pickett and Kershaw may be able to drive these off without very much effort. Once they get there, they may rout pretty quick. One hopes. The artillery is banging away nicely. They do have a lot of guns. I see 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 artillery battalions currently visible. These skirmishers are wavering, about ready to pull back. What are these guys doing? Okay, so they're kind of doing the same thing on this side. They're preparing to come in here. And as I mentioned, our flank is kind of hanging out in the air here. It's already pretty clear that they're not going to make an assault directly across this axis. So I'm going to edge Jackson a little bit. I'm going to put him on top of this ridge. And I'm going to pull Bartow's skirmishers in. And once they've rejoined, I think what I'll do is I'll shift Sibley over here to the flank, get him building some breastworks. And then I'll put Bartow in this position. Matter of fact, Sibley can pull back out and do that now. But I'm moving Jackson so that he keeps his zone of control on all 3 of his brigades. And if I just put Bartow here, Jackson can... I don't want to use that command because that may affect his brigade somehow that I don't want. Okay, let's take Sibley and put him about like so. Notice this artillery battalion gets a little morale buff just for having cavalry nearby. Makes them feel more secure. Okay, let's shift Bartow over into this trench. I didn't need to give Sibley a fallback. I think that's just going to make him go slower. I should have just given him a regular movement order. We'll speed things up a little bit. Okay, for Sibley, let's get him building some breastworks. Make them a little bit longer to give room for Pelham's artillery in that line as well. And Hawes's dismounted cav. See if Pelham can keep firing in the middle of all the breastwork construction going on around him. Bartow can put his skirmishers back out. Yeah, they're kind of taking their time and lining up for a proper assault. Still a few wavering brigades. On McClellan's side, 4, 3 infantry and 1 cav. I mean, cover or not, and we got 3 infantry brigades over here against, well, three and a half brigades if we count the cav against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And on this side we've got 4 against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think before this is over, Pickett and Kershaw are going to have a pretty hot fight over here. Sibley and B, same thing. Hope I haven't made a mistake by leaving a little hole in the middle. I don't think so, though. No one's really kind of lining up to do anything right here in the center. Now, this force right in here, it's possible they could come up in here trying to overload Bartow's left flank. That could happen. Got a little skirmisher contact here. And our skirmishers up on the fence line are taking artillery fire, which better them than the parent brigades. So that's okay. Of course, probably our brigades are probably firing. I don't know what they're firing at. They're firing at something. I think Sibley can also put skirmishers out, in addition to building the entrenchments. More skirms coming out from Kearney. I feel better if I had another brigade kind of right in here. I just don't really have a brigade to do that with. I could flip Kershaw over here and build a breastwork kind of like this, facing in this direction. I don't know. I don't think I want to leave this open in here either. Okay, we got a brigade advancing now. So Kearney's full brigade is coming up. Pelham is in cover now. There's enough breastwork there. Oh, lost sight of that. So there's a... Okay, so the federal attacks are beginning in earnest now, advancing along the middle road. These guys are all moving now, slowly, because of the terrain here. Here comes Kearney, and there's Joe Hooker right behind him. Okay, these skirmishers are getting low on ammo. Let's go ahead and pull these guys back now. Leave Cabell's skirms there a little bit longer. Not much, though. Bartow's skirms are in cover here. Okay, those skirms have been driven back. So Bartow's skirms are in a good position to deliver flanking fire on this advancing cav brigade. We'll leave him where he is. This battery's in cover, but Sibley's infantry is not yet. They're not quite done with those breastworks. Okay, Sibley's skirms are getting involved. That's good. I think I'd rather he were firing on this advancing cavalry. No, fire at the cavalry. Okay. It's about as good as it can be there. Hooker and Kearney kind of out here in the middle advance, which is kind of understandable for Kearney and Hooker. Cabell's skirms are doing fine on morale and losses, but they're getting low on ammo. I'm going to go ahead and pull them back in just for that reason. Okay, this cavalry is wavering, and they're getting flanking fire no matter which way they turn, so they're not going to be long for the battle. Sibley's still working on these breastworks. Come on, finish. $600 to 100. So, long way to go here. Well, I turned off the initiative for the brigades, but not for the skirms. So these guys have left their cover. I think this is Kearney. No, Hooker. Hooker's brigade is wavering. Good. I wish we would show the commander on the field or in the tooltip. I gotta scroll out. That's Ord. Advancing here in the center. Turn that gunfire down a little bit. $75. Okay. Be nice to get some flanking fire on them. Which I think we will get once Loring is disposed of. Well, he's turning anyway. Okay. How are these skirmishers doing here? Yeah, they're getting a little toasty. I'm going to leave them though. Their presence is what's causing these, or contributing to these flanking fire debuffs on these two units. So we'll let Bartow's skirmishers stay in the fight as long as they care to. Okay, Sibley has got cover now. Let's go ahead and dismount the cav. get them into... I don't know if there's a breastwork there for him to get into cover with, but let's see. Okay, it looks like Hooker didn't break, but it looks like he's pulled back a little bit. Loring is helping out, and we're driving back Ord. He's wavering and falling back. Good. Is that Kearney? Kearney is fully broken. Good. That's a pretty small brigade here. 1,400. So far, so good. Okay, Sibley's skirmishers have fallen back. Pelham may not have line of sight anymore. No. Okay. Limber up. And let's pull... pull him back to here. He's got a little bit of a rise. He may be able to do some shooting from there. I don't want to put him out here on this flank. Okay, all the skirms have fallen back on the left. So now Pickett is dealing with McCook coming up on the left. Rotate Loring back into his trench line. Hopefully he actually takes cover in it. Alright, so the attack on our right went fine. Things are pretty hot here on... The attack on our left went fine. The attack over here on the right is a little... Well, the Cav is involved, don't have cover because didn't finish the breastworks to this end. Sibley does have cover. He doesn't have the flanking debuff, so he's fine right where he is. Got some dismounted Cav making a frontal assault onto entrenched lines. That seems like a bad idea for the Federals. Okay, let's rotate Pickett just a little bit. See if we can remove that. Well, he doesn't have it anymore, so he's alright. Cosmetically, he appears still in the trench, and he's still got his cover bonus, but it looks like they're giving him credit for having changed his facing. Hey, as long as he's firing and he's got his cover bonus, that's cool. Still firing. Still firing. Pelham is not quite in position yet. Cav's banging away here on the flank, helping out with those Maynard carbines. Doing all right, yeah. The meter is flipping in our direction. 4,100 casualties inflicted compared to 700 losses. Let's see, this is working out okay. Hooker falling back further. Okay, this brigade just routed. Schleich is out of the fight. This brigade is retreating. This brigade is this brigade is retreating. Okay, so they're pulling back from that assault on our flank. Good. What's happening over here? These guys are bugging out too. Falling back. Alright, I know I said I wasn't going to do this. Let's keep a little pressure up here. Keep our guys firing. I'm going to break as many of these units as I can. Start advancing some of these. Just to keep them firing longer. I don't want to chase them all over the map. Pickett's brigade did a very nice job over here. I wish they had picked up some experience. Seems like they should have, but they didn't. I think Pickett picked up a little experience himself. I thought I had ordered Bartow to advance. I guess not. That was Burnside that just... okay, so that little brigade is broken. Getting any closer to a 12%. Okay, there's a break. Let's go ahead and mount Oz. These are unbroken arch. I don't think I want to run Hawes up in here and eat some canister, especially running across this creek. That's a weird route. Let's not do that. Let's just move you up to the fence line first. And you can put your skirmishers back out. Hopefully we can catch those two artillery battalions that way. Just tell the skirms to come up here and that's not what I want. Here. There we go. Well, okay. Go skirms, go. Skirms will run a little bit faster. It's only 13%, but as routed units exit the map, that total of 41,000 will start to come down, and the percentage, even if we don't inflict any more casualties, that percentage of troops on the field will start to go up. So sometimes you can kind of eke a major victory right at the very end that way. I thought I had ordered these guys to shoot. Okay, Morris is routed. Pickett can't put out skirms because there's a unit too close to him. You got to have kind of enough open ground around you to put skirms out. And these skirmishers supposedly are firing at this guy, but they're not doing a very good job of it. Let's tell them to run over this way. That right-click firing order, it works fine on a stationary unit, but on a unit that's moving, you know, they move to a position where they can fire, they do so, but if the unit moves out, they don't pursue it. I think generally it's a little bit better just to use advance orders in that situation. Did I not give this? I know I just gave this detachment an order to, well, he's still firing. Maybe that's why he's not advancing. All right, Jackson, move on up. Okay, one of these artillery batteries is broken and one is wavering, so let's keep that going. I never did unlimber Pelham. Okay, that horse are broken. Still a few slow-moving troops in the trees over here. Yeah, let's move B in this direction. That way to back into a major victory because of units leaving the field only works if they actually leave the field in time before the expiration of time. I don't know if that's going to happen. Feder morale 21. Okay, so now units are leaving the field. We'll see that total number has come down from 41,000 to 40,000. Actually, it started at 44. I don't think we're going to get to major victory, though. Not in 16 minutes. Where is Hawes? Probably should have. I probably could have utilized him a little. Routed. It's just a matter of Jackson is apparently feuding. I don't know how. Feuding with Joe Johnston. That seems legit. Stonewall Jackson feuding with Joe Johnston. I could see that. There's really nothing for this brigade to do anymore. Okay, so minor victory. We took less than 1,000 casualties. So that objective was met. We got a victory, which means McClellan and Scott are going to have to withdraw. So that objective is met. And Fort Beckham is not under siege anymore. So that objective is met. $4,000 infantry, 1,500 cavalry lost, roughly, by the Federals. Hopefully some of those cavalry were armed with Sharp's carbines that we captured. That would be good. We lost half of his guns. Okay. Another point drop on federal national morale. And our military experience goes up. I guess the weather might have had something to do with why the federal morale was so low, but then we had the same weather, so we captured 2,800 small arms of some type. It'd be nice if there were some Sharp's carbines in there, and 40 artillery pieces. Hopefully something better than 6-pounder cannon. All right, so there you have it, the Battle of Fort Beckham. Johnston gets a win in the lower Shenandoah, and that will do for this episode. Thank you very much for watching.